The king pulled back his bow, but the arrow didn't hit a deer. It changed an entire kingdom. The forest was peaceful that morning. King Balban drew his bow as a deer disappeared between the trees. He took the shot. The arrow flew exactly where he aimed. Suddenly, a desperate cry echoed through the forest. Balban froze. His heart dropped. He rushed toward the sound, with his guards close behind. There, beneath a tall oak tree, lay a young man who had been gathering firewood. He was sitting with a bundle of freshly cut branches. The king realized in an instant that the arrow had struck the young man by mistake. The guard said, "He was Kareem, Your Majesty. He was trying to earn enough for another day's meal." Every morning, before sunrise, Kareem walked into the forest to collect firewood. Then he carried it nearly 6 miles to the village market. Whatever he earned was just enough to buy bread, rice, and medicine for his family. Balban knelt beside him. He called for help. He did everything he could. But despite every effort, Kareem never returned home that day. The forest fell silent. One of the guards quietly said, "It was an accident, Your Majesty." Another stepped closer.
No one else saw what happened. The king looked at both of them. Then he calmly shook his head. "If I hide the truth, I no longer deserve this crown." Instead of returning to the palace, Balban asked, "Take me to Kareem's home." The small house stood at the edge of the village. Inside, Kareem's elderly mother sat by the window, waiting for her son as she always did. When the king entered alone, she immediately sensed something was wrong.
Balban gently told her everything. He accepted full responsibility for the accident. The old woman couldn't speak. Tears filled her eyes. The room became painfully quiet. No excuse could ease her loss. The next morning, the king walked into his own courtroom. He was guilty for his own actions. News spread quickly throughout the entire kingdom. People were hoping to hear what would happen. The chief judge entered and invited Kareem's mother to stand before the court. Leaning on her wooden cane, she slowly stepped forward. The judge spoke with respect. "You're free to speak. Tell this court what you believe is fair." The room became completely still. Everyone waited for her answer. She looked at the king for a long moment and said, "My son worked hard every day. He never wished harm on anyone. I never imagined a king would come to my home, admit his mistake, and stand before his own court. My son cannot return. But today, I choose forgiveness. And if he accepts, I will think of him as the son I still have." Many people lowered their heads and wiped away tears. The judge nodded. "The court accepts your decision." Then he turned toward Balban. "But remember this. If you had expected your crown to place you above the law, this court would have ruled very differently." Everyone waited to see how the king would respond. Balban slowly removed the ceremonial blade from his belt and held it in both hands. "I came here as a citizen, not as a king. If this court had treated me differently because of my position, none of us would deserve to speak of justice." In that single moment, something remarkable happened. A grieving mother chose mercy. A judge protected fairness. And a king proved that true leadership begins with accountability. Years later, people no longer remembered that day because of a hunting accident. They remembered it because the most powerful man acted as an ordinary person. His crown earned respect, but his honesty earned trust. The greatest measure of justice isn't found in the punishment someone receives. It's found in the courage to accept responsibility before anyone asks. Here's the part people miss. Nobody remembers this story because a king made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. They remember it because of what he was willing to lose to make it right. Turns out that's the only apology anyone ever fully believes. If a story like this is worth your time, there's another one waiting for you next week.